All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to tell all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which you speak. But as we always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as are simply sharing our passion with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. You know that we are your go-to on YouTube for Dallas Cowboys coverage throughout the NFL season, as well as any and all Dallas Cowboys coverage. And boy, this particular broadcast is a doozy, but we are going to we're going to talk about a conclusion of the disastrous 2024 season of the Dallas Cowboys. Week 17 loss at home to NFC East rival, the Washington Commanders, by a score of 23-19. Let's jump right into our numbers. Quarterback Trey Lance, 20 of 34 attempts, 244 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Rico Dowdell, 22 carries, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. Jalen Tolbert, 4 catches, 98 yards. Kevontae Turpin, 3 catches and 53 yards. Maris Leofow, 8 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Deron Bland, 7 total tackles, 7 solo. Malik Hooker, 6 total tackles, 5 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Jordan Lewis, 5 total tackles, 4 solo. Eric Kendricks, 5 total tackles, 3 solo. Micah Parsons, 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. Chauncey Golston, 3 total tackles, 2 solo, 1.5 sacks, tackle for a loss. Troy Pride Jr., 3 total tackles, 2 solo. Osa Adigazua, 3 total tackles, half a sack. Donovan Wilson, 2 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, tackle for a loss. Mozzie Smith, 2 total tackles, 1 solo, and a half a sack. The disaster of the Dallas Cowboys 2024 season really began with the humiliating loss against the Green Bay Packers in the 2023 wild card round. The Cowboys were the number 2 seed, Packers were the number 7 seed, and the Cowboys were promptly blown out. Owner Jerry Jones, instead of making significant changes then, tells all Cowboys fans that he's going to go all in to try to win the Super Bowl. And going all in meant signing no free agents of note, not calling Derrick Henry, not calling Saquon Barkley. His biggest signing was bringing back one Ezekiel Elliott, who the Cowboys promptly released towards the end of the season. And listen to the broadcast that we did, that Ezekiel Elliott was especially statistically the worst running back in free agency. And Jerry Jones ignored the numbers to bring back Zeke, so the Cowboys had no running game. Jerry Jones also drafted no running backs in last year's draft. And we will even add to the fact that we lost a lot of depth on the team, and that's before the Cowboys even took the field. When the Cowboys took the field, clearly defensively, they definitely were not the same. The run defense was just awful. That has been a problem really for the last 5 or 6 years. The Cowboys, for some reason, still cannot stop the run, no matter who they draft, whether it's Quentin Bohanna, Magic Smith. We don't know what the problem is. And then the injury bug had hit the team, starting with Sam Williams, who tore his ACL, then DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Then, of course, Dak Prescott gets hurt in the game versus the Atlanta Falcons that we were in attendance. And Dak really wasn't playing well to begin with. And he gets hurt, literally tears his hamstring off the bone by simply running and throwing. And CeeDee Lamb got banged up. We will give CeeDee Lamb his credit. He did the best that he could do. But clearly this team was off, really from off season. Again, Jerry Jones signed no free agents of note, did not draft any running backs, and waited until the 11th and a half hour before the clock struck midnight to reach deals with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. So really the Cowboys were doomed, and it showed. So you clearly had a roster where a lot of guys who were starters the previous season or solid contributors the previous season were now lost, coupled by not bringing in quality players to replace them, as well as the injury bug. It just was a disaster for the Dallas Cowboys, which brings us into the recent news. Dallas Cowboys fans, head coach Mike McCarthy will not return as a Dallas Cowboys head coach in the 2025 season, a decision that was long overdue. We've had our criticisms of Mike McCarthy. We felt the time to move on from Mike McCarthy would have been the end of last season because the team looked woefully inept and totally unprepared for the playoff game. And we felt that was the last straw with Mike McCarthy. Yes, we'll give him his credit for winning 12 games, 3 seasons in a row, and getting the team to the playoffs. But our issues with Mike McCarthy was some of the lack of discipline on the team, some of the in-game adjustments, some of the critical coaching decisions where we had questions on that. So this is not really a time to bash Mike McCarthy. In fact, when to give Mike McCarthy some credit, when to call out Jerry Jones for the simple fact that you blocked the man from talking with the Chicago Bears and you knew you weren't going to retain him. Now, from what we understand, it came down to a dispute about years and money. Of course, with Mike McCarthy, who was coaching without a contract his final season, was probably looking for job security, and I will understand why. He's probably looking for another 4 to 5 year deal. Probably Jerry Jones was looking for maybe a 2 to 3 year deal, and of course, they couldn't agree, whether it's the numbers or the money or the years, and they decided to just split permanently. So the Cowboys will now be without a head coach, and I believe since the Jerry Jones era, this will be their 9th head coach. At some point, Jerry seems to be the problem, and we're going to have our opinion about that. Give us 1 second, or a few minutes rather. Bear with us at Chin Check Sports Radio. The big talk we have been hearing is head coach Deion Sanders from the Colorado Buffaloes, one of the greatest NFL players of all time, NFL Hall of Famer, and former Dallas Cowboy cornerback. Folks, why are people making a big deal about Deion Sanders? And this is why we say that. This is no knock on Deion. This is not saying Deion can't get the job done. I think Deion Sanders has proven himself as a quality coach. We coached at Jackson State University. He took that program and made it a national championship contender amongst HBCUs. Look, definitely the job he's doing at the University of Colorado for a team that won 1 game before his arrival, won 4 the next season, and this year got them into a bowl game. They really were contenders for the Big 12 Conference Championship as well as earning a spot in the college football playoff. So look at the job that Deion Sanders has done. So I think right now he's earned that much respect to be given a shot on. The problem I have with it is Deion Sanders is not the end-all be-all. You need players on that Dallas Cowboys roster. You can bring whatever coach you want to bring in. Where are the quality players? Now, where does this begin? Folks, we're just stuck with Dak Prescott. I've been said I would not have paid Dak a damn dime. It was time to move on from him a couple of years ago. We've gotten everything that we've gotten out of Dak. We've been at this thing since 2016. He is who he is. He's a nice guy, an uber nice guy, a leader in terms of personality. He does the right thing. You have nothing bad to say from a personality standpoint about Dak Prescott. But the man's not getting the job done when it matters the most sometimes. He has that befuddled look on his face when things don't go his way, and I've seen it enough times. That's why we were definitely against paying him that kind of money. So right now, we're definitely stuck with Dak Prescott, at least for the next 3-4 years. So look at the offensive line. We are in transition right now. The Dallas Cowboys, again, are rebuilding the offensive line. We waited too long to move on from Tyron Smith. We drafted Tyler Smith. That pick actually turned out. We drafted his rookie, Tyler Guyton, which why in the world, if this kid was playing right tackle, why would you move him to the position that requires much more athleticism where you're going up against better pass rushers? You move him over to the left side. Why? This is some of the incompetence of the Dallas Cowboys. You move a guy who is playing right tackle, move him over to left tackle. Haven't the Cowboys seen this before? Where they tried that experiment, I believe, with Terrence Steele, moved him from right tackle to left tackle, was a disaster, and moved him back to right tackle. Come on. I mean, this is just comedy hour. The new center, Cooper Beebe, we thought was a solid contributor. We don't have any problems with him. The right guard position, Hall of Famer Zach Martin. This guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest Cowboys of all time. Clearly, he's older, slower, and even before, and you could tell he's slower because there were certain games he would just beat. I'm talking about just hugging air. But it's not a knock on him. That's just with age. 10 years in the league, hard charger, injuries can start to slow him down. We will give him credit back in the 2020 season when the offensive line was definitely in disarray. He actually kicked out to right tackle and did a very admirable job. So we have nothing but positive things to say about Zach Martin. But Father Time is undefeated. And we said at the beginning, during the season, he still has name value and name recognition. Trade him to a team, maybe like the Houston Texans, who need offensive line help, and you could have gotten a 2 and a 3 for Zach Martin. But the Cowboys didn't do that. He was injured, so there's still some uncertainty about the right guard position. It is time for Terrence Steele to take a walk. We're going to say this again. It is time for Terrence Steele to take a walk. He got his money, had an ACL injury, and it's not the same player. Like, the man looks awful on certain Sundays. So it's time to move on from him. So the Cowboys right now are in a serious rebuild of the offensive line. We mentioned the running back position. Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, a Dak Prescott-led Cowboys offense is most efficient when they have a solid running game. I go back to the years of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Draft this kid, Ashton Genty. Stop talking about it, stop thinking about it, and make it happen. When you have that running back, it's going to force that safety to come down to the box, which will open up CeeDee Lamb. So let's make it happen. Again, this is not rocket science. Get you that running back, like to get those tough yards, get the ball out of Dak's hands. Much like a Dak Prescott and a Tony Romo, where they handed the ball off and look no further than the 2014 season, where the ball was taken out of Tony Romo's hands, fed to DeMarco Murray, ran for 1,800 yards. I believe 7 to 8 straight games of 100 yards per game. I believe that's an NFL record. So it's the same thing with Dak Prescott. Get you that solid running back, get the ball out of his hands, make the throws when he needs to make the throws, and that's how you tame Dak, and that's how you limit and start to slow down on some of the horrible interceptions that he throws. You have CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb, you want to get you a second receiver. Cowboys fans were telling me that the guys, the Jalen Tolberts and the Jalen Brooks and these guys were going to be, some game changers. Has not happened. Don't know why the hell they traded for Jonathan Mingo, a 4th-round pick. We have no idea why. Brandon Cooks, maybe we'll give him another year, but it's time for the Cowboys to get another quality receiver. Again, when the team was doing their thing in the 2021 season, you had Amari Cooper, you had CeeDee Lamb, and you had Michael Gallup. So clearly you need another weapon opposite of CeeDee Lamb, and it's time to make it happen. On the defensive side, okay. Yes, the defense suffered a lot of injuries. We're definitely not gonna argue that point. And injuries definitely hurt the defense. So we're definitely gonna give Mike Zimmer some credit. But when the team was at full strength, they still could not stop the run. And I don't know why the Cowboys have this fixation on drafting defensive tackles and want to make them pass rushers. Stop. It's not working. Because now you see the NFL. You see how just 3-4 years ago, the running back position was supposed to be devalued. Because you have all of these uber athletes, these pass rushers, these guys that can run 4.5s and bend and twist and stuff like that, who can get to the quarterback in a passing league. But now the way you stop the speed of these pass rushers is you run right at them, because they're not those bigger linebackers that you saw in the late 90s and the early 2000s. These guys are lean. I mean, these guys look like basically oversized safeties. But these guys are just uber athletes, but you can line up and run right at them. That's why you start to see a now resurgence in the running back position. Funny how that works. The Cowboys need to go back to get those big defensive tackles who their job is to be an anchor. And I'm not talking about to the extent of a late Norman Hand, may he rest in power, a Big Ted Washington, a Sam Adams, a Tony Saragusa, but get you some big guys who can eat up double teams, a Snacks Harrison, guys that can eat up double teams. And their job is not to rush the pass. I don't care if they have any sacks, but you clearly see the difference on the field where they're just mauling offensive linemen and eating double teams, which allows your linebackers to eat free. And if you have these big run stoppers, guys who can stop the run, that frees up your one-on-one matchup with guys like Micah Parsons. So we'll just throw that out there. It is what it is. In the linebacker position, folks, we love this kid, DeMarvion Overshown. We love him. We think he's a natural athlete. He has great explosion. But he has tore his knee up in 2 seasons. We said this on a previous broadcast. We cannot wait for this kid to get better. We have been down this road with Sean Lee. Great defensive player, always injured. We've been down this road with Tyron Smith. Great offensive player, and he's always injured, and that hurts the team. Draft his replacement this offseason. We're going to say this again. Draft his replacement this offseason and have him on standby. We're not going to wait around. Again, we love this kid. We love his energy. Our heart hurts that he is injured. And again, and we're talking about he tore his ACL his rookie season. He totally, blew out his knee, ACL, PCL. Okay, this and a third. By all the accounts, he should be ready to go. He's talking about he's a fast healer. He can have Wolverine adamantium type healing. We don't care. Find his replacement. Because we're not going to do this every year where a player gets hurt and the defense falls apart. We need quality linebackers. We recycled Eric Kendricks. Great. He's a solid player, but not where he needs to be at this stage of his career and for what that defense needs. Amaris Leofau, we'll see what happens. It was his rookie season, so we would definitely give you that. But the Cowboys need quality linebackers. The defensive back position. We have Trevon Diggs. We have DaRon Bland. For some reason, they cannot play on the field together. Trevon Diggs, brother, this is your second season. You got the big contract, which you earned. And we actually fought for you, and we defended you. But by this time, 2 years in a row, serious knee injuries, and possibly you're going to miss time in 2025, we might need to have a conversation about this money. That's just what it is. So we just might need to have a conversation about this money and kind of see what we're doing here. So, hey, I think it is what it is. It's just not, it's just not happening. DaRon Bland, solid player, injured, so we'll kind of see what he does. That kid, Kalen Carson, who was a rookie who played well against Cleveland, definitely did not cut the mustard the rest of the season. And I believe he was injured, but what are some games where he looked totally out of position and shouldn't have been there? Our safeties were just awful. Maybe a few games you brought up Donovan Wilson, but we don't know what happened to Donovan Wilson. He got his money and was not the same. Out of position, bad, getting beaten pass coverage, really not making tackles, missing tackles, head down. Again, the one game, the Tampa Bay game, I don't know what happened. He had a damn spiritual awakening, but it's time to move on for some brand new safeties. Got a solid punter, great kicker, and Brandon Aubrey. Now, Dallas Cowboys. Here's a word of advice. You generally draft well in the first round. You drafted Hall of Famers, could have been Hall of Famers, and solid contributors. Again, specifically on the offensive side. A Dez Bryant, a Tyron Smith, a Travis Frederick, a Zach Martin, a Tyler Smith. So you drafted generally well on the Ezekiel Elliott for his 3-4 years in his when he was at his peak. You generally drafted solid players. The problem is you waste your second-round draft picks on projects. Randy Gregory, Tristan Hill, Jalen Smith, Marshawn Nealon. Folks, stop wasting your second-round draft picks. That is as critical to a roster as your first-round draft pick. And folks, we have gone back and looked at some of the Cowboys draft players from the 2017 draft, the 2016 draft. Dak Prescott's still there. The 2017 to 2018 draft, maybe 1 or 2 players are still there. The 2019 draft, 1 or 2 players are still there. So for all the players that hit in the 2021 draft, your Micah Parsons, your Osa Odighizuwa, those guys are still on the roster. But guys like Nashawn Wright, what the hell? Israel Mukwambo's finally getting some playing time. In 1 year, they drafted Kelvin Joseph. How did that work out despite drive-by shootings? You drafted Tristan Hill. How did that work out? Jalen Smith, how did that work out? The year you drafted Trevon Diggs, I believe CeeDee Lamb and Trevon Diggs came in 2020, you hit on those draft picks. But there was another draft pick called Reggie Robinson, I believe. Where the hell is he? Okay, it hadn't worked. So, yes, the Cowboys hit on their draft picks, but they missed on quite a few, and specifically that second-round pick. Stop with these projects. DeMarcus Lawrence worked out being drafted in the second round, been a solid contributor for 10 years. But you followed up with Randy Gregory, Jalen Smith. We got one good season out of Jalen Smith. You got guys who should not have been drafted, especially that high, and it turns out to be a wasted pick. We like Marshawn Neal, but even watching him play, he doesn't have that explosiveness that even that Sam Williams has, that explosiveness that obviously Micah Parsons has. He's just an average guy coming from a small school. We hope he can improve. We definitely want the best for him, but that's just it. But that's just what it is. So the Cowboys need to go ahead and draft the running back, have a solid running back, continue to build that offensive line, get you one big defensive tackle, linebacker help, and safety help, go in free agency, and build this roster up. I don't hear about no damn Deion Sanders. Deion, we love you, and this is no knock on you or try to disrespect you. We think you walk on football water, but the Cowboys need a little bit more than Deion Sanders to bring this team to compete with the top teams in the division. We're talking about beating the Eagles, now beating the Commanders, to now beating the top teams in the division. The Cowboys ruled the NFC East for a long time, maybe flip-flopping division winners with the Eagles, but at this point now they're head and shoulders above the Cowboys. The Commanders have just won their playoff game, so the Cowboys have some work to do. So when they were going 12-5 and running through the NFC East, they should have still been bolstering and retooling the roster instead of bringing the same old people back. And now you see the end result. So the Cowboys are gonna have to do their job to make things happen. Because here's why, folks: the Dallas Cowboys schedule is as follows next season. For home, you're gonna get your NFC East games: the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders. You know they play every year. Folks, the Dallas Cowboys have to play the Green Bay Packers at home in 2025. The same Packers team that was in the playoffs, same Packers team, and the Packers were a playoff team, so that's going to be a tough schedule. Folks, the Dallas Cowboys play Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs at home. We don't know how far they're going to go, but the Kansas City Chiefs are a playoff team. Folks, the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Los Angeles Chargers. They were a playoff team. Folks, the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Minnesota Vikings, who was a playoff team. And they're playing the Arizona Cardinals, who, by the way, the Cowboys have not beaten in a couple years. On the road, you know the Cowboys play, again, their NFC East rivals at the Giants, at the Eagles, and at the Commanders. The Dallas Cowboys play at the Chicago Bears, who looks like Mike McCarthy might be their new head coach. You know, that's going to be a primetime game. The Dallas Cowboys play at the Denver Broncos, playoff team. And by the way, the Cowboys have not beaten the Broncos since the 1990s. The Dallas Cowboys play at the Detroit Lions, who is a playoff team and the current number one seed in the NFC, and who humiliated the Cowboys last season by running trick plays with offensive linemen. The Cowboys play at the Raiders, at the Jets, and at the Panthers. Folks, the only games that are actually gimme games would be the Raiders and the Jets. The Panthers are starting to make slight improvements. The Cowboys blew the Panthers out. So if you want to talk about games that you can pretty much pencil in to win for the Dallas Cowboys, at Raiders, at the Jets, and at the Panthers. We read you their home schedule. It is conceivable, ladies and gentlemen, that the Cowboys can lose a majority of their home games again next season. So that is a murderer's row schedule the Cowboys have to play next year. This is why we said that Deion Sanders is not the end-all, be-all to all the Cowboys' problems. The Cowboys have to bring in quality talent, stay healthy, find the right coach. Do we have it now? Which brings us to Jerry Jones. Do we have an idea of who should coach the team? No, we don't. Because we say this, and it's going to be far-fetched. Do you know who we feel who should coach the Dallas Cowboys? Let Jerry Jones do it. Because Jerry Jones has a belief that maybe if he wasn't a football owner, that he would have been a head coach. Let him coach the team. Sometimes people need that slap in the face of reality to let him know that you're not playing with him and for him to understand his worth. Jerry Jones meddles, does all these post-game interviews, speaking to the media before the coach does. The players know that they can go to Jerry Jones and undermine the authority of the coach. And the players know that I can go to Jerry for a lifeline and not deal with the coach. There have been reports that while the players are working out, fans are walking past, the Cowboys players' weight room and waving at the players and stuff like that when the team is trying to work out. Folks, we have done a tour at the Cowboys Stadium, and it literally was just a stadium tour. We go to the press box in the locker room, and you walk on the field, and we have taken pictures in the locker room of former players of Dez Bryant and DeMarco Murray and Tony Romo. So we've taken pictures inside the locker room. It's actually rather nice. But for the players to be working out and fans walking past them, it's pretty much turned into a circus. As a Dallas Cowboy coach, you're definitely going to be undermined by Jerry Jones. You're going to have no decisions On personnel, it's going to be Jerry and Will McClay. We just told you that some of the drafting has been less than stellar. Even though drafting some stellar players and some all-pros, there's definitely been a lot of misses. So as a Dallas Cowboys coach, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with little undermining and needling by Jerry Jones and people in his ear, and even former Cowboys players like Michael Irvin was having say-so about Mike McCarthy. Yes, we've been critical of Mike McCarthy, and deservedly so, but clearly Jerry Jones listened to his former players than he would his current head coach. So why, as a head coach, would you sign up for that job with that roster, knowing you're not going to make any splashes in free agency? You're definitely going to do bargain basement shopping, grab second or third tier guys to fill holes in the roster, and then put it on the coach. But Jerry thinks he's a coach, so let Jerry Jones coach your damn team. We as Dallas Cowboys fans are getting tired of Jerry Jones' nonsense, of making these false promises and selling stuff like a businessman when he's really turned into a snake oil salesman. So Cowboys just tired, so let Jerry Jones coach your team. But we're definitely going to stay on top of this thing. When the Cowboys announce a new head coach, you're definitely going to have our broadcast about it. But we definitely wanted to wrap up the 2024 season with the Dallas Cowboys. And as we always, thank you all for enjoying and following our coverage of the Dallas Cowboys. And until the next time, it's Chin Check Sports Radio. Signing out.